I want to talk a little bit about the audio documentary that you guys made.
Sure.
It's a band called Punchline. I highly recommend it for anybody, especially if you're in a band. I mean, I think that is so cool. You guys really get into it. And for people who grew up with you guys, I mean, for a lot of us, that was just a really big trip down memory lane. I think my wife even listened to some of
Nice.
it with me because she was just kind of like, I was like, yeah, this is kind of what I like to do as a kid. Because it's like my wife, grew up being into music too. And so she grew up in the Cape Cod area, Massachusetts. So she had, that sort of the scene that Massachusetts had. And that, I mean, obviously you mostly had to go to Boston for stuff, but they had like a little all ages venue. So she had that experience too. So we kind of had that in common. And so I would share that and I'd be like, yeah, this is the stuff that I grew up going to. And all these places they're talking about, I've been to. I've been to a lot of
Right.
the shows they're talking about. But you guys go really deep and you rehash some stuff. Not all of it is happy.
No.
So I mean, for the making of that, was there sort of any pain as you guys were rehashing it, or is it all water under the bridge and everyone's cool, or a little bit of both?
It's all water under the bridge. That's the good part is that we're all friends now. Even the everybody in the end ended up being friends who hang out all the time and play music together all the time. So there's no hard feelings at all. But yeah, going back and like talking about some of that stuff is um yeah, I don't want to say painful, but it sucks to relive some of the. I mean, we had all the standard stuff you expect a rock band to have happen to them. You had your moments where you made a decision and it might not have been the right one. You had the drugs, you had everything you expect on the journey of a band happened. And with that, what I love what you said about your wife listening to it too, because I've been able to put the word out about that podcast to I'll put some ads on the Krista Makes a podcast and just to some people that maybe weren't familiar with Punchline that have listened to it and still enjoyed it because they could relate to so much of it, whether they were in a band or they went to shows or just enjoy a story. That was one part of it. On my end, I wanted it to be like my pride and joy as far as like an editor of a podcast is like, make this thing really good. Make it like a documentary, not just, us just blabbering for hours. I wanted to make it like, like you're watching a movie in your mind or something while you're listening to it. So that's really cool that she enjoyed it as well, because, some people have said that to me and I think that's the highest compliment. I kind of thought to a certain extent it is fan service or whatever you want to call it for people that already are somewhat familiar and maybe want to know more. But I like to think that it stands on its own. And we're up to, with that podcast, because there's so much that goes into it, it's kind of like however long it takes between episodes is however long it takes.
Sure. Yeah.
Because right now we're up to 2010 on it. And we do each episode's an album era. And sometimes it takes months. Sometimes it takes 6 months to do an episode because we're getting audio from so many different pieces, from so many different people. And then it's my job. I always record my audio last. So I serve as the glue. So if I need to connect what one person said with what another person said, I will talk to be to bridge that gap. And it's not easy.
Yeah, it's a documentary. I mean,
Yeah,
it is
right.
quite literally a documentary. I mean,
Right.
it's and it's really, yeah, it's really just interesting though, and especially I mean, I think for people that have grown up with you guys. I mean, for me personally, another really cool component of it is because we had a couple degrees of separation. Like one of my good friends was in a band with some of your good friends and stuff
Yep.
like that. So it's like I
Nate.
mean, it's. Yeah,
Nate.
Nate. I mean,
Yeah.
and we're still friends to this day.
Right.
And
I love
so,
Nate.
yeah. I mean, I don't get to talk to him all the time, but what we usually check in, like a couple times a year.
Yeah, I haven't
And
seen him in a while. I saw him somewhere. Anyway, that's off topic, but I saw him somewhere in the past 5 years, maybe. But yeah,
that's more recent than me. I haven't
okay.
seen him in a long time. Yeah, yeah. I mean, we still text, but yeah, like so I would hear like a lot of the stuff that I later heard in that podcast. I remember hearing, like the telephone version of it
Yeah.
elsewhere, where it's just like, oh yeah, this thing happened to Punchline in Arkansas,
Mhm.
and
Right.
then hearing the like confirmed story, and then
Yeah.
just seeing how close the hearsay that I got was, especially because not only was it just a couple degrees of separation, but also many years have passed. So I'm like
Mhm.
relying on my memory. So it was just really fun from that
Nice.
standpoint too. Um, what made you pick the bass?
Uh, well, this is probably gonna be unbelievable to you, as it probably would be to most people, but I got a bass the week that I realized what a bass was. Like, I loved music. I listened to music all the time, took piano lessons, half-assed. I wish I would have stuck with piano, but, like, it's just one of those things you do as a kid. Piano lessons, but never really had too much experience with the bass guitar, and then it was like, well, I wanna start a band with my friends or whatever, and nobody played bass. So I was like, I went to a baseball card shop that also sold musical instruments, and there was a bass, and I bought it, and, you know, from there, I don't know, it was somewhat natural. I kinda picked up stuff here and there, as I went, but yeah, it was just kinda like there was nobody that played bass. I wanted to start a band. I knew people that played guitar. I knew people that played drums. I knew people that sang. I put "sang" in quotes. But, um, yeah, the bass player is something that was needed. I don't know if bass players are as in demand now, but it was kinda like same kinda thing. I grew up playing hockey, and I was a goalie. Why was I a goalie? Because we didn't have a goalie. So I stepped into that role. It was the same sort of thing, like, "Hey, we need a bassist." So I got a bass. And then the rest was history.
No, dude, that's beautiful. I mean, a buddy of mine left for tour in Australia, and he just texted me like just checking in, saying hi, and he's like, yeah, we're going on tour in Australia, and he's the bass player. So I sent him, just as like a fun like, hey, good luck on tour. And then along with that good luck thing, I sent him a Hard Times article, like a Hard Times headline that said bass player demoted to merch guy, or
Yeah, right,
merch guy demoted to bass player.
right. Yeah, I've heard that, hey, sometimes those merch guys do get the promotion to the band. It's happened, I've seen it happen several times, and yeah, sometimes it will be to bass. But let's not, uh, give bass too bad of a rap here, because a good bassist, maybe you don't notice it, but a bad bassist, oh boy, you will notice a bad bassist in a band. I'll tell you
Well,
that.
in a bassist, the bassist really sets the genre. I mean, if you were playing in Punchline and all of a sudden you decided to, do
Slap.
bass lines as if you're doing like country,
Mhm.
you're going to completely change everything, no matter what the rest of the band does.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah, bass
that's
players
like
can overplay sometimes. I've seen it.
sure, or just not fit in. I mean, it's
Yeah.
such. I mean, imagine Rancid without Matt Freeman.
Yeah.
Imagine, and it's and yeah, I've really, I live in San Pedro, which is Mike Watt territory.
Okay.
So, I mean, that's a guy who's just all about the bass and
Mhm.
and he'll like kind of break it down why. And you should do his show if you never have.
I no, I have not.
You should totally. I mean, dude, because he's all about the bass, and
That's awesome.
yeah, he has a fun show. It's called the Watt from Pedro show. I don't listen to it all the time because
I'll check it out. I didn't even know about it.
it's long because I think he also does it as a radio show. So he'll
Okay.
legit have, and sometimes I just want to like hear the conversations. So like I just want to hear the guests. So I'll kind of like scroll through it because it's 3 hours. But yeah, it's a cool show. But so my last question, and I think you're gonna have fun with this one. I have said to other people because my sister moved back to Pittsburgh a couple years ago, And I've said this to other people, not just from what I've seen from you, but I've seen this from other people too in my life, where they're asking about like areas kind of on the up, and I'm like, one of the best kept
Mhm.
secret right
Mhm.
now is Greensburg. Like
Greens
Greensburg.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say Pittsburgh. Greensburg. Okay, continue.
Oh yeah, no, no, no. Within Pittsburgh, in the Pittsburgh
Okay.
area. Yeah, yeah,
All
yeah.
right.
Like in the Pittsburgh area. Like my sister and brother-in-law were looking to buy a house and stuff. They decided to, move back, start a family and all that. And I mentioned Greensburg because it
Mhm.
seems like Greensburg is kind of a happening place now.
I like Greensburg. So when I was looking to buy a house, I looked at closer to Pittsburgh. And first of all, the houses were way more expensive. Second of all, the taxes were way higher.
Mm,
And I was like, maybe Greensburg. I'm going to check out Greensburg. And I'm glad I live in Greensburg. Hey, man, I'm 35 minutes away from Pittsburgh.
right.
Whatever. Like I just hop on the turnpike. I'm in Punchline practices in McKees Rocks. So I'm actually going past Pittsburgh to go to band practice, which
Yeah.
that's a little bit annoying. But otherwise, if I need to go to Pittsburgh to do something, it's not that big of a deal. Yes, downtown Greensburg is pretty cool. We got some cool coffee shops like the White Rabbit. We got some cool places to eat. We have the Palace Theater. We have a nice venue here where I'm actually in April. I'm going to the Price is Right live there. So
Nice.
I'm hoping to get on stage there. But there's some decent shows that come to the Palace. The Goo Goo Dolls played there. Regina Spektor played there. Who did I get? Oh, I went and saw Ben Folds play there last year. Like that's cool, right?
I bought my parents tickets to a show there. I bought them tickets. I'm a big Tall fan, and so are my folks. That's how I got it. But the ex guitarist Martin Barr has a band now, just called the Martin Barr Band, and they played the Palace Theater. So I
Nice.
got my folks tickets for that show.
That's cool. I mean, that's a cool venue, and in the summer they have big summer concerts in the park, and you know, it's like a nice small town, nice small city. Because I grew up like 20 minutes, I guess it would be south of here, in like the Mon Valley. And that's really there's not much there. That's like too small town. It's every restaurant. Oh, you know what else we have here now? A casino. We have a casino
Oh
in
yeah.
Greensburg. I mean, we really have it all. We have every restaurant you can imagine. We got a mall, a casino, venues, great local places to eat. I don't know. I'm glad I live in Greensburg. I like it here.
Yeah, it's just interesting to see like the areas that kind of got a bump over the years, like
Mm-hmm.
having grown up in Pittsburgh and then seeing like, oh yeah, Oakmont is kind of like really cool and happening now.
Yeah.
And it was always like really cool scenery there, but it was sort of like, oh, they had the Oaks and then there wasn't much else, really going on. And now it's like kind of happening. And now Greensburg, I remember growing up, they used to have a CD warehouse that had
Dude,
shows. Do you remember that?
it's still there.
The
And
CD warehouse?
this is so funny you bring this up. I was just there before Punchline played a show, like our holiday show on December 15th. And the day of, actually, that morning, we went to get breakfast. And my friend Matt Kelly, who I do One Hit Thunder with, he's the producer of One Hit Thunder. He loves the CD warehouse. Every time he comes out here, he spends 50 or 60 bucks at the CD warehouse because to this day, he is still a collector of physical media. He loves CDs. He loves DVDs. He goes there and buys all this obscure stuff for a couple bucks a piece. And they also have vinyl there, but way more CDs and DVDs. And the place is big and it's still open and it is thriving, man. They don't have shows there anymore. I know they used to have shows there back in the day, but and Matt even said to me, because he went there the day before too, but he went back to get some things he wanted to get that he didn't get. And he said that he couldn't believe how many young people were in there, like people like teenagers in there buying CDs and stuff. And I really think that the used CD store has gone the way of the dodo. And the fact that that CD warehouse is still standing, I think people really like that.
That's incredible. I
Yeah.
never would have guessed in a million years that place was still open.
I was just there. It's so funny.
Wow. I thought you were going to say it's condos now, but that's
No,
wow. That's
nope,
incredible.
nope.
That is a victory.
I was impressed when I walked in there because I haven't bought a CD in a long. I buy some records here and there, of course, but I haven't been there. But I walked in, I'm like, I can't believe how big this place is and how many people were in there. They were having a sale. Oh, that's why we went back, because the sale, they were having like a 40% off sale the next day. So he went in there, scoped out all the things he wanted. We went there that next day, like after breakfast. Yeah. CD warehouse. Hey, it's another reason to move to Greensburg. We got a CD warehouse.
Right on, man. Well, hey, thanks so much for doing this. Plug away.
Yeah.
Where can people go to learn more about you?
I'm on all the things, Chris Fafalius, on Instagram and TikTok and Facebook and wherever else. I'm on all the places. But hey, podcasts, a band called Punchline. Look it up. One Hit Thunder. I host that one. And Krista makes a podcast. I produce that, and I'm on the episodes like at the end. Those are my things. And Punchline. You can go to punchlinemusic.com, and we have a bunch of tour dates coming up. We had an album called Action that came out in the year 2004, and we are doing anniversary shows for that this year and have new music on the way. And still at it, man. Still doing it. Still rocking that bass.
That's awesome. Dude, I love to see it, man. Great to
Hell yeah.
reconnect with you.
Yeah, you too, Ron. Thanks for having me on, man.